Hello, I'm the Faun. Welcome back to your favorite opinion space, the Faun's Weekly. It's been a few weeks since the end of the Panamerican Qualifier for Paris 2024, and from a distance we can make a somewhat colder analysis of what occurred during the event. Not overall, but specifically what interests us, which is the two Mexican athletes who went to get their pass. As you can imagine, it's not an easy subject to discuss due to its implications, so a disclaimer is needed for all those people who have some sort of obsession with praising everything the Federation does, or also have a close affection with the involved athletes. Stop watching right now if this is the case, and although I need to underline that what you're about to listen here is not designed to personally engage with anyone, I must mention that due to the sensitivity of the matter, it may not always seem like that. So before you get mad and roast me in the comment box, consider yourselves warned. Firstly, let's address this. Why was this qualifier so vital? Or better yet, why was this qualifier so crucial for Mexico? Perhaps many lose sight of the big picture, getting swept away by passion, or for others their minds simply don't get it. But Paris 2024 is not or will not be just another Olympic Games, at least not for our country. The Paris Games signify the revival of Mexican Taekwondo, because you might be world champion, winning all tournaments you participate in, but remember one thing. In the collective unconscious, even in Mexico, Taekwondo doesn't exist except every 4 years. Those of us involved in this world know the effort and significance of seeing your name in the Olympic standings, but everyone else couldn't care less. And one might ask, what does everyone else matter? And I could poke fun at that cynicism, except within that rest of the people are included the authorities our sport depends on. Not only them, but also the potential sponsors who could join in the future if anything falls through within the group of authorities, as it often does. But not only that, there are many people who make a living teaching this discipline. And to them, Olympic results are a very significant factor in their business model. Go and ask your teachers what happened in 2008 after the golds of Memo and Maria. Schools were swamped. Everyone wanted to be Guillermo. Everyone wanted to be Maria. And if we look back further, it's the same. Everyone wanted to be Oscar. Everyone wanted to be Lydia. And if we go even further back, it's the same. We all wanted to be Victor. Another instance of the importance of Olympic medals is 2012. It was the first time Mexico managed to secure 4 Olympic slots. Does anyone remember the names of those who made up the team? Experts surely know who they are, but do the experiment, ask your acquaintances, and you'll see that what I'm saying is not an exaggeration. The same goes for Rio 2016. From those 2 editions, everyone only remembers Maria. If Daniela Azazores wins a medal in Paris and I already have Tlaloc on the brain, no one will remember that Carlos lost in the first round last time, or that Daniela didn't make it through to the regional qualifier last time. The Olympic medal is the indulgence of indulgences. Of course, there are many more factors I could list as to why this type of medal is important, but I believe with the ones previously listed, you understand the point I want to make. And from an Olympic cycle like Tokyo, where we achieved the same 2 spots but with 0 results for the first time in history, the fact of having 2 fewer chances to add a Parisian to the podium is not only sad but tragic at this juncture. To have heard Bill DeKeep say, "Oh well, that's the way it is," after both Mexicans were eliminated is simply outrageous. The imbecile has not the slightest idea of what he presides over and of the importance of the event. Cynical. But in addition, I wish those who have followed his lead all these years would jump into a well. But let's get back to the point. What happened to the Mexicans in the Dominican Republic? In short, they both lost their first fight. In short, they both lost their first fight and thus missed the deadline. No way. That's just the way it is. Unfortunately, things are a bit more tragic than that. And as always, context is important to understand the size of the tragedy. Both Mexicans ended up in their respective charts as the #1 seeds. This meant that they were the highest-ranking competitors within their charts. And that's why if there's any bypass, it's for them. In this case, they both spent their first fight without fighting, which I'm not sure if it's a good thing. I've always thought it's not that much, but that's up to you. Let's start with the under 67 fight. Leslie is a competitor who has been consistently delivering results and is one of the few team members who has had a following since her youth. And it is that even in the World Championship in Guadalajara, he managed to hang the gold medal. But what we did not know is that that medal brought a horrible curse. After Guadalajara began a bad streak for her, where after being champion of the world lost in the first round in Baku, in the round of 16 in Rome, in the first round in Paris, Taoyuan and Manchester, contrasting these falls with a brush in Central American Games and the Caribbean, and winning the Panamerican Games in Chile. What was the problem then in the qualifier? Well, several. In my opinion, going through a round without a fight affected him. I don't want to say that it played against him, but I could say that it played in favor of the who in his first fight came out a little bit, not knowing where he was. He lost the first round against Ecuador, but in the second and third rounds he came out to destroy. The graph of this qualifier in less than 67 was one of the shortest, only 7 competitors. Among all, we knew Christina was the toughest opponent for Leslie. Even though Leslie had beaten her in the past, Christina had also had her victories against Leslie. The problem was that the American responded with a clear idea of what she had to do. The rest is history. It's unfortunate for the Mexican that things turned out this way, but I think it's important to conduct a detailed analysis of the situation, because in my opinion, the trend is very clear. There's a contrast between the Leslie before Guadalajara and the Leslie after. The challenge with a talent like Leslie's is that it's hard to come by. But just because it's unique doesn't mean it can't be squandered, and there's a long way to 2028. There's more to it than what meets the eye, and 4 years is enough time to scrap even the best of Ferraris, but also enough time to make a comeback. Brandon's situation seems a bit more tragic to me. Brandon is the only Mexican on the team who had more or less consistent results in this region. Gold in the Central American Games and gold in the Pan American Games. In my opinion, there was no one who could have outshined him in the qualifier. However, I believe the ghost of 2020 still haunts him today. Once again losing the regional Olympics pass, once again to Colombia. A Colombian who honestly wasn't superior to Brandon, but who did know how to take advantage of the gaps in the Mexican strategy. The tragic part is that I'm not very sure Brandon's age will allow him to reach 2028 in his current good form that he's enjoyed over the recent months. And I saw many comments on social media feeling sorry for the results, telling them they are great warriors, comments from people who claim to have witnessed the effort they made prior to the event, and so on and so forth. Yes, indeed, nobody disputes that they made an effort, that they tirelessly labored, that they didn't train to lose. Just like the athletes from Nicaragua, Suriname, Haiti, Trinidad and Tobago, even the Colombians, nobody trained to lose, but they lost nevertheless. The most mediocre consolation we can articulate to ourselves is that that's the nature of sport. I know they pushed themselves, I know they are formidable athletes. I, along with everyone else, knew that they had the potential to overcome this challenge, but all that effort, that hard work and the sacrifices they made to reach the Dominican Republic wasn't sufficient. And if it wasn't enough this time around, it won't be in the future. Someone had to break it to them, but also something needs to change. Mexico has become a country of unpredictability. There is no longer a consistency between one result and the next, and of course it's celebrated. Also by fits and starts, but we can't gamble everything on that. And we can keep fooling ourselves, or rather you, national team, and I'm including coaches, technical staff, can continue deceiving yourselves into thinking everything's okay. So then the events come, of Olympic categories with worldwide impact, and reality crashes into your face, leaving out of the world's most important sports event 2 of the best competitors from our country. Stop believing that things are going to get better. Stop believing and start thinking. The preparation for this event was not good. Despite being tired, having made sacrifices and given it your all, there were a series of mistakes that can be listed during the preparation, starting with the fact that the preparation for a regional event took place with preparation tournaments in Europe. Perhaps if that preparation had been in an event in America, or had been even an event in America, would have run into the same rivals, and I could have planted a strategy at that time, and not now that it is no longer useful. In spite of everything, I still think that the two of them were the best option in Mexico to go for the pass. But more than the best option, they were the only one. There is no optimal selection process in our country that allows new generations to knock on the door of the current national team and pressure them not to let their guard down. On the contrary, the selection reaches an event where no results were obtained, and they come to relax because they know that there will be no, and as I've said before and I say now, to have the best exponents of our country in a comfort zone where they know their place is safe is one of the most important places in the world. Worst mistakes you can make.
But don't listen to me. I'm just a crazy guy with horns screaming on the internet. What's next? The hope of winning an Olympic medal and forgetting all the failures of this and the previous cycle. The indulgence of indulgences. If you liked the video, please consider subscribing to the channel, leaving a thumbs up, turning on notifications, and of course telling a friend. Sharing our content is the best way to support us. But if you also want to help us in a more tangible way, take a look at the channel memberships or visit the online store.